Winter morning. Winter morning in Bangladesh are truly a sight to behold. The air is crisp and cool, and the sun is just starting to peek over the horizon, casting a warm glow over the landscape. The trees are bare, their branches outlined against the clear blue sky. As the day begins to awaken, the sounds of birds chirping and people starting their daily routines fill the air. The streets come alive with the hustle and bustle of people going about their business, and a smell of freshly brewed tea and spices wafts through the air. One of the most iconic sights of a winter morning in Bangladesh is the fog that often blankets the countryside. As the sun rises, the fog starts to lift, revealing the lush green fields and rice paddies that dot the landscape. It's a peaceful and serene scene, and one that is sure to take your breath away. As the day progresses, the temperatures start to rise, and the winter sun provides a welcome respite from the cool morning air. Despite the chill in the air, there is a sense of warmth and comfort that comes with a winter morning in Bangladesh. It's a time to huddle around the fireplace with loved ones, sipping on steaming cups of tea and chatting about the day ahead. Overall, a winter morning in Bangladesh is a truly magical experience, one that is sure to stay with you long after you have left this beautiful country. So, if you have ever chance to visit Bangladesh in winter, don't miss the opportunity to experience the beauty of a winter morning in this beautiful land. Growing up in a Bangladeshi village. This section will talk about the life of a child growing up in a Bangladeshi village. It will explore the social, economic, and cultural factors that influence the child's upbringing. The first factor to consider is family dynamics. In Bangladesh, there is a strong emphasis on family and community ties. The child parents are usually closely related to other villagers who are also part of their extended family. The second factor is religious beliefs. Islam is the main religion in Bangladesh, and it has strong influences on all aspects of life, from dress code to dietary restrictions to schools that children attend. Thirdly, there are economic factors to consider. The majority of people living in Bangladeshi villages work in agriculture or as day laborers for companies outside their villages. This means that they have very little opportunities for upward mobility or financial stability, so they often live with many generations under one roof, which can result in overcrowding and unsanitary conditions for children living with them at home or attending. Traveling to Bangladesh in winter for the first time. Bangladesh is a country located in South Asia with a population of over 160 million. The country has been receiving an increasing number of tourists every year. The winter season in Bangladesh starts from November and lasts until March. The weather is usually cold, rainy, and foggy during the time. In Bangladesh, the summer season starts from April and lasts until October. During this time, it's hot, humid, and wet, with heavy rainfall. The photographer's perspective on everyday life in Bangladesh. There are many types of photographers. Some photographers like to take pictures of their everyday life, while others prefer to take pictures of wildlife or landscapes. The photographer in this article is a street photographer who takes photos of people on the streets. They capture what they see and tell a story about Bangladesh from their perspectives. Street photography is an art form that has been around since the invention of camera. It captures moments in time that are often missed by mainstream photography, and it tells stories about people's everyday lives that would otherwise go untold. Street photography is not just for professional photographers, but anyone with a camera and an eye for detail can do it too. How is winter in the rural areas of Bangladesh? As I was thinking all this sitting in the air-conditioned room of a multi-story building, my mind went back to my childhood and summoned images of the shady courtyard of my village home. There, the smell of the dried neem leaves comes out of the folds in winter. There, a wintry afternoon is all about burning green peas and smoking hot bhaba pitha, one kind of rice cake. The lunch and dinner menu is prominently filled with gourd and fish curry. In a wintry evening, a flock of wild ducks fluttered its wings in the still water. Rural winter speaks of a completely different world by poetry hemmed by fog and cold. When the winter comes. Date palm tree. Date sap is extracted from a date palm tree. As a child, I read a poem in a weekly magazine written by Rafiqul Haq, better known as Dadu Bhai. In this poem, he referred to winter as a trembling old lady. So every time I had the opportunity to experience winter morning in the village in my childhood, I thought this bone-chilling winter is the work of an old lady. Unlike the city, fog doesn't fuse with smoke and creates hazy weather in rural areas. Rather, the village is wrapped in a blanket of a thick and fine coat of fog, making it difficult to see the sun. Dew falling in the tin-shaded roof makes an amazing pattering sound. The water in the pond becomes very calm. It doesn't freeze as it does in the northern and western countries, but those who have seen the calm pond on a winter morning know that this is the most unique element of rural winter. The sun shines after 9 or 10 o'clock in the morning. The dew-drenched grass glitters in that light. Evening falls before the afternoon comes in the village. The day becomes short with the onset of winter. It is realized even more clearly sitting in the backyard of a village house. A different kind of beauty that lies in desolation is one of the most aspects of winter in the village. In winter, the traditional green of nature vanishes. On the contrary, barren stalks in the trees and dried stalks and leaves gathered in the yard make winter looks glorious, perhaps realizing the unique beauty of winter. Poets around the world have written so many beautiful verses. The omnipresent modernity of civic life has touched rural life. Yet, when it is done in a rural town that is asleep in the cold, the foggy beauty of nature and sound of falling leaves are remembered as our childhood memories of all the winter mornings that we left behind. Surrounding the clay stove. Winter means all the arrangement and activities surrounding the clay stove, which is matir chola, the smell of fresh rice powder and freshly collected date juice that permeates the yard house. Mother's handmade shamai and nokshi pitha make the entire thing even more enjoyable. I remember the grandmothers and grandparents sitting next to the clay stove in the winter morning and trying to pair the bhaba pitha with intense love. They would go to the kitchen in the morning, ignoring the severity of the winter, to soak the rice cake in the milk. Not only pitha puli or rice cake, but there are so many arrangements of food surrounding winter. In the evening, the juice pot was hung on a dead palm tree. Before the sun rose, a date sap collector would go up to collect it. Some people would go to char or bar regions to catch foreign birds and wild ducks. The domestic goose were also one of the foods of winter, and the taste of winter vegetables including cauliflower, cabbage, turnips, squash, or small fish curry just multiply in winter. Maybe no one cooks on a clay stove in the village, but compared to the city, in the village winter still means a lot of fresh food. Handmade shamai or pot collectors may no longer be seen in the villages of Bengal, but you can still peek into the village kitchens. An 80-year-old woman may be making chitoi or puli pitha for her urban children with absolute compassion. Invitation and hospitality. In rural Bengal, winter means Nayor and Kutumbakal, or the season of hospitality. In winter, the bride went to her mother's house for a holiday, and the people living in the city returned to the village. This is when the best picture of hospitality is painted in the village. The village yard, after a long time, becomes a melting pot of conversation. Winter vacation also becomes an opportunity for uncles, aunts, and cousins to get together. On those winter mornings, children would sit in rows on the veranda to eat rice cakes soaked in date juice. At noon, when the adults were busy taking naps, a group of teenagers would cover their face and nose with sweaters and hats and plan a feast. 2 handfuls of rice from this house and 2 chickens from that house was enough for the feast, and cooking was done in the evening in a handmade clay stove. Surrounded by the dim light of hurricanes and lamps, every child would sit in a circle, centering the grandmother, and indulge in ghost stories. Along with our busy life, we all have become more accustomed to modern life as well. So many of us do not have enough time to go to the village in groups. Even if we get a holiday, it ends up having a barbecue or a one-day picnic on the rooftops of the house. However, those who still get a chance to go to the village, avoiding the hustle and bustle of their mechanical lives, they may get a taste of winter feast and hearty hospitality, even if it is only for a while. Harshness of winter. Without telling the brutality of winter and how it affects the rural areas, the entire picture of winter in the rural areas of Bangladesh will not be painted. There is no warmth of electric heaters or no coziness of wooden blankets in the rural areas, but the coldest and most severe form of winter actually affects these rural areas. Most people of these rural areas spend winter in hand-woven shawls and mufflers. Not the scent of blankets and naphthalines, but the scent of shimul cotton and the scent of neem leaves of winter charioteer of villagers. To minimize the cold, they warm their hands in the fire, place a lamp or pieces of burning coal in the corner of the house. Most of the rural people are working people, and since the prevalence of poverty is their constant companion, they have to run to the market field and ghat, ignoring the severe cold. That is why the scene of a boatman or a fisherman walking along the farm aisle in the middle of the fog is all too familiar during winter in the rural areas of Bangladesh. As mentioned before, rural Bengal is losing its charm due to the intensity of change. So now, maybe in small well-to-do houses, the winter is prevented by blankets and winter clothes that are bought from the market. However, the poor people suffering in the frigid grip of winter is still more evident in the villages. Even today, they have to ignore the freezing cold and fight to survive. And in the foggy morning, they are running along the aisle of the land with cracked feet. Shamsur Rahman, one of the most celebrated poets in Bangladesh, called the winter of the village ascetic sage. The poet was right. The emptiness of the winter and the stagnant nature reminds me of meditation. Many things have changed. Many things have been lost in the abyss of time or in the name of modernity. Yet, the memories of childhood are scattered in the frigid wintry days that we spent in the village.